Jack Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished fixing the power unit in Sector 7. The mining colony of New Haven was always hot, but today felt worse than usual. He packed his tools into his worn leather bag and started walking. Back to his small apartment, the colony was busy as always. Humans worked side by side with different alien races. There were the tall, thin Kresh with their long arms. The short, round Bumari rolled around on their wheel-like feet. And the Velthari, with their blue scales and 4 arms, moved gracefully through the crowds. Jack had been living on New Haven for 3 years now. He came here with his wife Emma after they got married. She was a transport pilot flying ships between the colony and the space stations. But 2 years ago, her ship crashed during a storm. Jack still missed her every day. He was thinking about Emma when someone called his name. Jack Morrison? Jack turned around. A Velthari female stood behind him. She was tall, maybe 6 feet, with bright blue scales that seemed to shine in the colony's artificial light. Her 4 arms moved in a nervous way that Jack had learned meant worry among her people. "Yes, that's me," Jack said. "Can I help you?" The Velthari woman looked around as if she was afraid someone might hear. "My name is Zarathik. I need to talk to you. It is very important." Jack noticed that her English was good, but she spoke slowly and carefully. Most Velthari learned human languages for trade, but few spoke as well as she did. "What about?" Jack asked. "Not here," Zarathik said, looking around again. "Too many people. Can we go somewhere private?" Jack thought for a moment. He was tired and wanted to go home, but the alien woman seemed really worried about something. "There's a quiet cafe near the market. We can talk there." The cafe was almost empty. Jack ordered coffee while Zarathik asked for heated mineral water, which was what most Velthari drank. They sat at a table in the back corner. "So what did you want to talk about?" Jack asked. Zarathik was quiet for a long time. She kept moving, her 4 hands in small circles, which Jack knew meant she was thinking hard about something. "I have 3 children," she finally said. "Keth is 8 years old. Nira is 6. Vex is 4. Jack nodded. "That's nice. But I'm not sure why you're telling me this." "My mate died 6 months ago," Zarathik continued. "There was an accident. In the deep mines, a cave-in." "I'm sorry," Jack said. He knew how hard it was to lose someone you loved. "You do not understand," Zarathik said. "For Velthari children, a father is not just for love and care. Our children need a male's bioelectric field to grow properly. Without it, their brains do not develop right." Jack frowned. "I don't know much about Velthari biology." "Human doctors call it neural pathway development," Zarathik explained. "Velthari children must be near a father figure during their growth years. If not, they become ... slow. Their minds do not work properly for the rest of their lives." "That's terrible," Jack said. "But surely there are other Velthari males who could help." Zarathik's scales seemed to get darker, which Jack had learned meant sadness or shame. "I went to the council. I begged them, but there are rules. Old rules. I am from a low family group. The available males are from higher groups. They will not lower themselves to help my children." Jack felt angry. "That's wrong. Children should come first." "Yes," Zarathik agreed, "but that is our way. I cannot change it. So what can you do?" Zarathik looked directly at Jack. Her large, dark eyes seemed to be studying his face. "I learned something. Human bioelectric. Fields are very similar to Velthari male fields. Similar enough that human males can help Velthari children develop properly." Jack almost choked on his coffee. "What are you saying?" "I am asking you to be their father," Zarathik said quietly. "Not for love. I know you still grieve your mate, but for my children's lives." Jack stared at her, You want me to. What exactly? In Velthari culture, we would be mated. You would live with us. Share our home. The children would be near your bioelectric field every day. It would save their minds. You're talking about marriage, Jack said. Not human marriage, Zarathik said quickly. Velthari mating contract. It is different, more like a business agreement. You would have all the rights of a father to my children. I would take care of your needs, cook for you, keep your clothes clean, warm your bed if you wish. Jack's face turned red. I can't. Just marry someone I don't know. I do not ask for love, Zarathik said. I ask for kindness, for help. My children are already showing signs of mental slowness. Keth used to be so smart. Now he struggles with simple problems. Nira forgets words. She knew before. Little Vex barely speaks anymore. Jack could hear the pain in her voice. How long would this arrangement last? Until they are grown. Maybe 12 years for the youngest. 12 years? Jack's voice came out too loud. Other people in the cafe looked at them. I know it is much to ask, Zarathik said, but I have credits saved. I work in the communication center. I can support us. You would not have to pay for anything. Jack shook his head. It's not about money. Then what? Jack thought about Emma, about the children he and Emma had planned to have someday, about the empty apartment he went home to every night. I don't know anything about raising children, he said, especially alien children. I would teach you, Zarathik said. Velthari children are not so different from human children. They need food, shelter, love, and guidance. And if I say no? Zarathik's scales turn very dark. And my children will spend their lives with the minds of babies. They will never be able to work or learn or have families of their own. They will need care until they die. Jack felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. The idea of children suffering because he was too scared to help made him feel sick. I need time to think, he said. How much time? Zarathik asked. Every day. We wait. More damage is done to their minds. Give me 3 days, Jack said. Zarathik nodded slowly. 3 days. But please, Jack Morrison, remember that you have the power to save 3 innocent lives. All I ask is that you share your home with us. She stood up and walked away, leaving Jack alone with his thoughts and a decision that would change everything. Jack couldn't sleep for 3 nights. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about Zarathik's children. He imagined what it would be like to watch smart kids slowly lose their minds. On the 3rd morning, he made his decision. He found Zarathik at the communication center where she worked. She was speaking into a headset in her own language, but when she saw Jack, she quickly finished her call. Have you decided? She asked. I'll do it, Jack said. But I want to meet the children first. Zarathik's scales turned bright blue, which meant happiness. Yes, of course. Come to our home tonight. I will cook dinner. That evening, Jack stood outside a family pod in the Velthari section of the colony. These homes were bigger than human. Apartments, and had special heating systems. His hands were shaking as he pressed the door chime. Zarathik opened the door. Welcome, Jack Morrison. The inside of the pod was warm and humid. The walls were covered with smooth stones that gave off heat. There were pools of warm water built into the floor. Everything smelled like minerals and spices Jack didn't recognize. Children, Zarathik called in English. Come meet Jack. 3 small Velthari came out from another room. They all had blue scales like their mother, but lighter in color. Each had 4 thin arms and large, curious eyes. The oldest one, Keth, walked forward slowly. Hello, he said in careful English. Hi, Keth, Jack said, kneeling down to be at the boy's eye level. Your mother told me about you. Keth nodded, but didn't say anything else. Jack could see what Zarathic meant about the mental slowness. The boy's eyes seemed confused, like he was trying to think through fog. Nira, the middle child, hid behind her brother. She kept looking at Jack with frightened eyes. Little Vex, the youngest, just stared at Jack without any expression at all. They are shy, Zarathic explained. They have never been close to a human before. Dinner was strange. The family sat around one of the warm pools and ate from floating bowls. The food was some kind of soup with vegetables Jack didn't recognize, but it tasted good. The children ate quietly, stealing glances at Jack when they thought he wasn't. Looking after dinner, Zarathic showed Jack around the pod. There were 3 sleeping rooms in a large common area. The sleeping rooms had heated stone beds covered with soft materials. "Where would I sleep?" Jack asked. "You can have the extra room," Zarathic said, "unless if you prefer to share my sleeping space. Jack's face turned red again. "The extra room is fine." "I understand," Zarathic said. "This is not a human. Marriage? I will not push you for things you do not want." The next day, Jack moved his few belongings into the family pod. It felt strange to live with people he barely knew, but he was determined to help. The first week was difficult. Jack had to learn how to use the Velthari washing systems and cooking tools. Everything was designed for beings with 4 arms and different body heat. He burned himself on the heating stones and nearly drowned in one of the floor pools. The children watched everything he did with fascination. They had never seen someone struggle with such simple tasks. "Why does he only have 2 arms?" Nira asked her mother in their own language. "Why is his skin so pale?" Keth added. "Why doesn't he have scales?" Little Vex whispered. Jack couldn't understand their words, but he could guess what they were talking about. "I know I'm different," he told them in English. "But I'm here too. Help." Slowly, things got better. Jack learned to adjust the water temperature in the pools. Zarathic taught him how to prepare Velthari food. She also started teaching him basic words in her language. "Kalar means food," she said, pointing to their dinner. "Et means water. Vash means sleep." Jack tried to repeat the words, but they came out all wrong. The children giggled, which was the first time he had heard them make happy sounds. "Your pronunciation is terrible," Keth said, but he was smiling. "Maybe you can teach me," Jack suggested. Keth's eyes lit up. For the next hour, he patiently helped Jack learn simple Velthari words. Jack noticed that the boy seemed sharper when he was teaching, like his mind was working better. After 2 weeks, Jack started to see small changes in the children. Keth began asking questions about human technology. He was fascinated by Jack's repair tools and wanted to know how they worked. "Humans build things differently than Velthari," Keth said one evening as Jack fixed a broken light panel. "How do your people build things?" Jack asked. Keth thought for a moment. "We grow them. We use crystals and biomaterials. But your metal tools are very strong." "Maybe we could combine both methods," Jack suggested. "Use the best of human and Velthari building." Keth's scales turned bright blue with excitement. "Yes, that would be amazing." Nira started following Jack around the pod. She was curious about everything he did. When he combed his hair, she wanted to touch it. When he put on shoes, she asked why he covered his feet. "Humans have soft skin," Jack explained. "We need protection from hot surfaces and sharp objects." "Velthari scales protect us," Nira said proudly, showing Jack her arm. "See? Very strong." "That's wonderful," Jack said. "I wish I had scales like you." Nira beamed with pride. Little Vex was the hardest to reach. He still barely spoke and seemed lost in his own world most of the time. But Jack noticed that the boy always stayed close to him. When Jack sat down, Vex would sit nearby. When Jack moved to another room, Vex would follow. One evening, Jack was reading a book on his electronic tablet when Vex climbed up beside him on the heated stone couch. "What is that?" Vex asked quietly. It was one of the longest sentences Jack had heard from him. "It's a story," Jack said, "about a man who goes on adventures. Read it to me?" Jack was surprised. "You want me to read to you?" Vex nodded. Jack started reading the adventure story out loud. Soon, Keth and Nira came over to listen too. Even though it was a human story with human characters, the children were fascinated. "Do all humans go on adventures?" Keth asked. "Some do," Jack said. "But most of us just work and take care of our families." "Like you're taking care of us?" Nira asked. Jack felt a warm feeling in his chest. "Yes, like that." From that night on, reading stories became their routine. Every evening after dinner, Jack would read to the children. Sometimes Zarathik would join them, listening quietly from across the room. 1 month after Jack moved in, Zarathik took the children to see a Velthari doctor. When they came back, she was crying, but her scales were bright blue. "What's wrong?" Jack asked, worried. "Nothing is wrong," Zarathik said. "Everything is right. The doctor says their neural pathways are healing. Their minds are growing stronger." Jack felt relief wash over him. "So it's working?" "Better than I hoped," Zarathik sighed. "The doctor wants to study our family. He has never seen Velthari children recover so quickly." That night, after the children were asleep, Jack and Zarathik sat by one of the warm pools. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You saved my children's lives." "They're good kids," Jack said. "Smart and curious. I'm glad I could help." "It is more than help," Zarathik said. "You have become their father in every way that matters." Jack thought about that. In just 1 month, these 3 alien children had become important to him. He worried about them during the day and looked forward to seeing them when he came home. From work, "I never thought I'd be a father," Jack admitted. "Especially not to Velthari children." "You are a good father," Zarathik said. "Better than many Velthari males I have known." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the soft sounds of the children sleeping in the next room. "Jack?" Zarathik said, "Yes? I am glad you said yes." Jack smiled. "So am I." 3 months had passed since Jack moved in with Zarathik and her children. Life had settled into a comfortable routine. The children were getting smarter every day, and Jack felt like he was finally learning how to be a father. Then everything changed. Jack was at work fixing a power relay when his supervisor, Pete Williams, came over with a serious look on his face. "Jack, there's someone here to see you," Pete said. "Official business." In the supervisor's office, a woman in a clean uniform waited for him. She had short brown hair and cold eyes that seemed to look right through him. "Mr. Morrison, I'm Lisa. Grant from the Terran Colonial Authority," she said, not offering to shake hands. "I'm here to investigate your living situation." Jack's heart started beating faster. "What do you mean?" "We've received reports that you're living in an irregular family arrangement with aliens," Lisa said, reading from a tablet. "There are concerns about your welfare and the welfare of the alien children involved." "Who reported this?" Jack asked. "That's not important," Lisa said. "What matters is that we ensure all human colonists are living in appropriate conditions and not being exploited." "I'm not being exploited," Jack said firmly. "I chose to help this family." "We'll see about that," Lisa sighed. "I'll need to interview you, the alien female, and the children. I'll also need to inspect your living conditions." Jack felt sick. "What happens if you don't like what you find?" "If I determine that you're being taken advantage of, or if the children aren't receiving proper care, I have the authority to relocate you and recommend that the children be sent to appropriate facilities." "You can't break up our family," Jack said. Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Family? Mr. Morrison, You've been living with these aliens for only 3 months. That hardly constitutes a family. That evening, Jack told Zarathic about Lisa's visit. Her scales turned dark with worry. What will happen to the children if they take you away? She asked. I don't know, Jack said. But I won't let that happen. The children sensed something was wrong. Keth kept asking questions that Jack couldn't answer. Nira clung to Jack's arm whenever he tried to leave the room. Little Vex stopped talking again and just stared at everyone with frightened eyes. 2 days later, Lisa Grant came to inspect their home. She walked through the pod with a critical eye, making notes on her tablet. The temperature in here is excessive for human comfort, she said, and these pools present a drowning hazard. I'm fine with the temperature, Jack said, and I know how to be careful around the pools. Lisa interviewed each family member separately. She asked Jack detailed questions about his daily routine, his relationship with Zarathic, and his responsibilities toward the children. Do you have any romantic feelings for the alien female? Lisa asked. Jack's face turned red. That's not what this is about. Answer the question, Mr. Morrison. Zarathic is a good person and a good mother, Jack said. I respect her. That's not what I asked. Jack was quiet for a moment. The truth was that he had started to care about Zarathic as more than just the mother of the children he was helping. But he wasn't ready to admit that, even to himself. We're not involved romantically, he said finally. When Lisa interviewed the children, she asked them questions in simple English. Keth answered politely, but seemed nervous. Nira kept looking toward the door where Jack was waiting. Vex refused to speak at all. The youngest child appears to have developmental delays, Lisa noted. He's just shy around strangers, Jack said. He talks to us all the time. I'll need to see evidence of that, Lisa said. The worst part was when Lisa interviewed Zarathic. Jack could hear raised voices from the other room, though he couldn't understand what was being said in Velthari. When they came out, Zarathic looked upset and Lisa looked satisfied. I'll have my report ready in 1 week, Lisa told Jack. In the meantime, I recommend you start thinking about alternative living arrangements. After Lisa left, the family sat together in the common room. Nobody knew what to say. Will Jack have to leave? Keth asked his mother in Velthari. I don't know, Zarathic replied sadly. I understood that, Jack said. I've been learning your language, remember? Keth looked surprised. You understood us? Some of it, Jack said. And to answer your question, I'm not going anywhere if I can help it. But their troubles were just beginning. The next day, an elderly Velthari male came to their door. He was tall and dignified, with darker blue scales and ceremonial markings. That showed high rank. I am Elder Mordic, he said in perfect English. I represent the Velthari Cultural Council. Zarathic's scales turned very pale. She bowed deeply. Elder, you honor our home. This is not a social visit, Mordic said, looking around the pod with disapproval. I am here about your arrangement with this human. The children are healthy and growing, Zarathic said quickly. The human has been kind to them. That is not the issue, Mordic said. The issue is cultural contamination. These children are being raised with human ideas and human customs. They are losing their connection to proper Velthari ways. Jack stepped forward. With respect, Elder, the children are learning about both cultures. They're not losing anything. Mordic looked at Jack like he was an insect. Human, you do not understand what you have interfered with. Velthari children must be raised in the traditional manner. This mixing of cultures is harmful to their development. Their neural development is better than it's ever been, Jack said. Ask any doctor. Physical development is not the only concern, Mordic said. These children must know their place in Velthari society. They must understand their cultural obligations. Living with a human prevents this. What do you want? Zarathic asked quietly. I want the children removed from this inappropriate environment, Mordic said. They will be sent to a proper Velthari institution on our homeworld, where they can be raised correctly. No, Jack said immediately. You can't take them away from their mother. The mother made her choice when she chose to live with a human, Mordek said coldly. She can come with them if she wishes to do her duty. Zarathic's scales were now completely white with fear. The homeworld institution, it is for children without families. They would be raised by strangers. Better than being raised by aliens. Mordic said. Jack felt anger rising in his chest. These children are happy and healthy. They're learning and growing. You want to take them away from the only family they've ever known, just because you don't like humans? I want to preserve Velthari culture, Mordic said. Something you could never understand. I understand that you're willing to hurt innocent children to protect your prejudices, Jack shot back. Mordic's scales darkened with anger. You dare to speak to me of prejudice? You who have corrupted a Velthari family for your own purposes? I didn't corrupt anyone, Jack said. I helped. Save 3 children's lives. So you say, Mordic replied. But I have evidence that you are using this family for your own benefit. Living rent-free, having your meals cooked, your clothes cleaned. What human male wouldn't want such an arrangement? Jack felt like he'd been slapped. That's not why I'm here. Prove it, Mordic said. Leave now, and I will allow the family to stay together. Continue this charade, and I will have the children removed. After Mordic left, the family sat in stunned silence. The children had heard enough to understand that they might be separated from their mother and from Jack. I won't let them take you, Jack told the children. I promise. But privately, he was scared. He had no legal rights to the children. If both the human authorities and the Velthari authorities wanted to break up their family, how could he stop them? That night, after the children were asleep, Jack and Zarathic talked about their options. Maybe it would be better if I left, Jack said sadly. At least then you could keep the children. No, Zarathic said firmly. Without you, their minds will start to fail again. I will not let that happen. Then what do? We fight, Zarathic said. We show them that our family is strong and good. We prove that love is more important than old rules. Jack looked at her with new respect. You're willing to risk everything? For my children? For you? Yes. It was the first time she had said she cared about him as more than just a helper. Jack felt his heart beat faster. Then we fight, he agreed. But as they sat together in the warm glow of the heating stones, both of them wondered if their love would be enough to keep their family together. The hearing was set for the following week. Both the Terran Colonial Authority and the Velthari Cultural Council would present their cases. Jack and Zarathic would have to prove that their family should stay together. But before the hearing could take place, disaster struck. Little Vex woke up one morning with a high fever. His scales had turned a dull gray color, and he was having trouble breathing. Zarathic was terrified. This is Velthari childhood fever, she explained to Jack as they rushed to the medical center. It can be very dangerous. The Velthari doctor, Dr. Kefter, examined Vex carefully. His expression was serious. The child is very sick, he told them. This fever affects the nervous system. If not treated properly, it can cause permanent damage. What kind of treatment does he need? Jack asked. Traditional Velthari medicine, Dr. Kefter said. Mineral baths, crystal resonance therapy, and constant monitoring by someone who understands Velthari physiology. Jack felt helpless. I don't know anything about Velthari medicine. Perhaps, Dr. Kefter said carefully, the child would be better served in a proper Velthari medical facility. On the homeworld, Jack understood what the doctor was really saying. This was another way to separate their family. No, Jack said firmly. We'll learn what we need to learn. We'll take care of him here. Dr. Kefter looked doubtful. Mr. Morrison, this is not a matter of good intentions. This is about medical expertise. Then teach me, Jack said. I'll learn everything I need to know. For the next 3 days, Jack barely slept. He studied Velthari medical texts, consulted with doctors across 3-star systems, and learned to operate the crystal resonance equipment. He memorized the proper mineral mixtures for healing baths and practiced the traditional Velthari healing songs that were supposed to calm sick children. Zarathik was amazed by his dedication. You do not have to do this, she said. Vex is not your biological child. He's my son, Jack said simply. That's all that matters. On the 4th night, Jack was sitting beside Vex's bed, singing a Velthari lullaby in his broken pronunciation when the little boy opened his eyes. Jack? Vex whispered. I'm here, buddy, Jack said, taking the child's small hand in his. Are you going to leave us? Jack felt tears in his eyes. Never. I'm going to stay with you and Keth and Nira and your mother for as long as you'll have me. Promise. I promise. Vex smiled weakly and closed his eyes. The next morning, his fever had broken. Dr. Kefter was surprised by the child's rapid recovery. I have never seen a human care for a Velthari child so effectively, he admitted. Your dedication has saved his life. Word of Jack's care for Vex spread through the colony. Even some Velthari, who had been skeptical of the arrangement, began to change their minds, but Elder Mordick was not impressed. The human got lucky, he said. This does not change the fact that these children are being raised improperly. The hearing was held in the colony's main conference room. Lisa Grant sat at one table with her official reports. Elder Mordick sat at another with several other Velthari officials. Jack and Zarathik sat together at a third table with the children beside them. The colony administrator, Captain Rodriguez, served as the judge. He was a fair man who had always treated all species equally. Lisa Grant presented her case first. The evidence shows that Mr. Morrison is living in conditions that are not suitable for humans, she said. The excessive heat, the unusual living arrangements, and the lack of proper human social contact are all concerning. She showed pictures of the family pod and read from her interviews. Furthermore, the alien children show signs of developmental issues. The youngest child is clearly delayed in his speech and social development. Jack wanted to argue, but his lawyer, a kind woman named Carol Baker, told him to wait. Elder Mordick spoke next. These children are being contaminated by human culture, he said. They are learning human customs instead of proper Velthari ways. This will make them outcasts in their own society. He presented documents showing traditional Velthari child-rearing practices. The children should be raised in a structured environment where they can learn their cultural obligations and their place in society. Finally, it was time for Jack and Zarathik to defend their family. Carol Baker called several witnesses. Dr. Kefter testified about the children's improved health and neural development. Jack's supervisor, Pete Williams, spoke about Jack's character and work ethic, but the most powerful testimony came from the children themselves. Kef stood up and spoke clearly. Jack taught me to think about problems in new ways, he said. He showed me that Velthari engineering and human engineering can work together to make better solutions. To demonstrate, Keth showed a small device he had built. It combined Velthari crystal technology with human metal work. This power converter is more efficient than either of our peoples could make alone, he explained. R.A. spoke next. Jack reads us stories every night, she said. He taught us about human heroes and adventures, but he also learns our stories. He knows about Velthari legends and history. Even little Vex, still weak from his illness, stood up to speak. "Jack stayed with me when I was sick," he said in his small voice. "He learned our healing songs. He took care of me like a real father." Then Zarathik stood up. "I asked Jack to help my children because I was desperate," she said. "I thought it would be a business arrangement. But Jack became more than a helper. He became a father to my children and a partner to me." Her scales turned bright blue as she continued. "He learned our language and our customs. He respects our traditions while teaching us about his own. My children are not losing their Velthari identity. They are gaining a broader understanding of the universe." Finally, Jack stood up to speak. "When I first came to this colony, I was alone and grieving," he said. "I thought I would never have a family again. But Zarathik and her children gave me a new purpose." He looked at the children, who were watching him with hopeful eyes. "I learned that family isn't about biology or species. It's about love and commitment and the willingness to sacrifice for each other." Jack turned to face Lisa Grant and Elder Mordick. "You both think you're protecting someone. Lisa, you think you're protecting me from being exploited. Elder Mordick, you think you're protecting Velthari culture. But you're wrong." His voice grew stronger. "I'm not being exploited. I'm being loved. And Velthari culture isn't being contaminated. It's being enriched. These children are learning to be proud of their heritage, while also understanding that the universe is full of different peoples with different gifts." Jack sat down, his heart pounding. He had said everything he could think of to say to Captain. Rodriguez thought for a long time before speaking. "This is a complex case," he said, "but I have seen the evidence with my own eyes." He looked at Lisa Grant. "Miss Grant, your concerns about Mr. Morrison's welfare are noted. However, he is clearly a consenting adult who has made an informed choice. The living conditions, while different from human norms, are not harmful to him." Then he turned to Elder Mordick. "Elder, I respect Velthari traditions, but I also believe that traditions must sometimes evolve. These children are thriving in ways that would not be possible under traditional arrangements." Captain Rodriguez stood up. "Furthermore, the medical evidence shows that these children's neural development is not just normal, but exceptional. Dr. Kefter's reports indicate that their cognitive abilities are developing beyond typical Velthari parameters." Jack held his breath, waiting for the final decision. "Therefore," Captain Rodriguez continued, "I find no reason to dissolve this family unit. Mr. Morrison will be allowed to continue his residence with the Velthari family. However, I am recommending that this arrangement be formalized through proper legal channels." Jack felt relief wash over him like a wave. Zarathik's scales turned brilliant blue. The children cheered quietly. But Elder Mordick was not finished. "This decision goes against centuries of Velthari tradition," he said angrily. "I will appeal this to the Homeworld Council." "That is your right," Captain Rodriguez said calmly. "But until such an appeal is heard and decided, this family will remain together." After the hearing, Lisa Grant approached Jack. "I hope you know what you're doing, Mr. Morrison," she said. "This is uncharted territory." "The best territories usually are," Jack replied. "Even Dr. Kefter came to speak with them." "I admit I was wrong about your family," he told Jack. "I would like to study your children's development, if you permit. Their progress could help other mixed families in the future." "As long as it helps other children, we're happy to help," Jack said. That evening, the family celebrated at home. Zarathik cooked a special meal, and Jack told stories about human celebrations. The children were excited and happy, chattering in both languages. But Jack noticed that Zarathik seemed thoughtful, even sad. "What's wrong?" he asked her when they were alone. "I am grateful for what happened today," she said. But I realized something. You agreed to help my children out of kindness. You have sacrificed so much for us. But what have you gained? Jack thought about her question. I gained a family, he said. I gained purpose. I gained love. But what about your own happiness? Zarathic asked. What about your own needs as a man? Jack looked into her large, dark eyes. He had been avoiding this conversation for months, but he couldn't avoid it anymore. Zarathic, he said quietly, somewhere along the way, this stopped being just about helping your children. I care. About you. More than I should, maybe. More than our arrangement requires. Her scales shifted to a warm golden color he had never seen before. You care about me? I think I'm falling in love with you, Jack admitted. I know that wasn't part of our deal. I know you didn't ask for that, but I can't help how I feel. Zarathic was quiet for a long moment. Among my people, she said finally, that golden color you see in my scales. It means deep affection, love. Jack's heart started beating faster. What are you saying? I am saying that I feel the same way, Zarathic said. You came into our lives to save my children, but you also saved me. You made me remember what it feels like to be cared for, to be valued as more than just a mother. They moved closer together. So what happens now? Jack asked. Now we stop pretending this is just a business arrangement, Zarathic said. Now we become a real family in every sense. Jack took her 4 hands in his too. Are you sure? Once we cross this line, there's no going back. I have been sure for weeks, Zarathic said. I was just waiting for you to realize it too. They kissed for the first time, and Jack felt like his heart might burst with happiness. From the next room, they could hear the children playing and laughing, safe and healthy and loved. Elder Mordic could appeal all he wanted. Lisa Grant could file whatever reports she needed. But this was their family now, and nothing would tear them apart. 6 months after the hearing, Jack and Zarathic stood before Captain Rodriguez again. But this time, it was for a much happier reason. Do you, Jack Morrison, take Zarathic as your wife, according to both human and Velthari law? Captain Rodriguez asked. I do, Jack said, looking into Zarathic's eyes. She wore traditional Velthari wedding ornaments that made her scales shimmer like jewels. Do you, Zarathic, take Jack Morrison as your mate, according to both human and Velthari law? I do, Zarathic replied in English, then repeated the words in her own language. The wedding was small but beautiful. The entire colony seemed to have turned out to watch. Humans, Velthari, Kresh, and Bumari all celebrated together. Even some of the Velthari, who had originally opposed the marriage, came to offer their congratulations. Keth, Nira, and Vex stood beside their parents during the ceremony. They wore matching outfits that combined human and Velthari styles. All 3 children were healthy, happy, and brilliant. Dr. Kefter had published his study of their neural development. The results amazed scientists throughout the galaxy. Children raised in mixed-species families showed enhanced cognitive abilities, better problem-solving skills, and greater emotional intelligence than those raised in single-species households. It appears, Dr. Kefter had written, that exposure to different ways of thinking actually improves brain development. These children are not just healthy, they are exceptional. The wedding reception was held in the colony's main hall. There was human music and Velthari crystal singing. There was human food and Velthari delicacies. Everyone mixed together, sharing stories and laughter. Jack watched his new family with amazement. Keth was explaining his latest hybrid invention to a group of fascinated engineers. Nira was teaching human children how to play a Velthari game. Vex was sitting with the elderly Velthari, listening to traditional stories. They're incredible, said Carol Baker, Jack's lawyer from the hearing. Those children are going to change the world someday. They already have, Jack replied. Even Elder Morgek attended the wedding. His appeal to the Homeworld Council had been rejected after they reviewed Dr. Kefter's research. The council decided that mixed families might actually benefit Velthari society. I was wrong about your family, Elder Morgek told Jack during the reception. I let fear of change blind me to the benefits of growth. We all learn as we go, Jack said diplomatically. Indeed, Mordic agreed. In fact, the Homeworld Council has asked me to study your family's methods. They want to establish programs to help other mixed families succeed. Jack was surprised. You want to help create more families like ours? The universe is changing, Mordic said. We must change with it, or be left behind. Lisa Grant also came to the wedding. She had written a report recommending that the Colonial Authority create support systems for mixed families. I admit I was wrong about your situation, she told Jack. I was so focused on protecting you that I didn't see how much you were gaining. Thank you for looking out for me, Jack said. Even if we disagreed about what was best. That's my job, Lisa said. But I'm glad it worked out this way. After the wedding, life settled into a new rhythm. Jack had been promoted to chief engineer for the colony. His hybrid designs, combining human and Velthari technology, had improved efficiency by 30%. Zara Thick had been promoted to communications supervisor. Her ability to speak multiple languages and understand different cultures made her invaluable for interspecies negotiations. The children were enrolled in a new experimental school designed for mixed families. They learned subjects in multiple languages and from multiple cultural perspectives. They were among the brightest students in the colony. One evening, 3 months after the wedding, Zarathic had special news for Jack. I went to see Dr. Kefter today, she said. Her scales glowing with that golden color Jack had learned meant happiness and love. Is everything okay? Jack asked, concerned. Everything is wonderful, Zarathic said. Jack, I am carrying your child. Jack felt like the world had stopped spinning. Our child? But is that even possible? Apparently it is, Zarathic said, laughing at his shocked expression. Dr. Kefter says it should not be possible, but here we are. Our DNA is more compatible than anyone expected. Jack swept her up in his arms, spinning her around the room. We're having a baby. The children heard the commotion and came running. When they learned about the new baby, they were ecstatic. Will the baby be half human and half Velthari? Keth asked. We don't know yet, Zarathic said. This has never happened before. The baby will be perfect, Nira said confidently, because it will be part of our family. Little Vex, who was now 6 and much more talkative, had a different concern. Will the baby be able to climb walls like us or tell stories like Jack? Jack laughed. Maybe both, Vex, maybe both. The pregnancy was closely monitored by doctors from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to understand how a human Velthari hybrid would develop. But Jack and Zarathic tried to treat it like any normal pregnancy. Dr. Kefter was fascinated by the biological impossibility of their situation. By all known science, this should not work, he told them during one checkup. But the fetus is developing normally and appears completely healthy. Sometimes love finds a way, Zarathic said simply. 6 months later, their daughter was born. She was beautiful and perfect, with pale blue scales and tiny fingers that had the flexibility of Velthari appendages, but the strength of human hands. Her eyes were Jack's brown color, but they had the large size and shape of Velthari eyes. They named her Hope, because she represented hope for the future of interspecies cooperation. The birth made news across the galaxy. Scientists wanted to study Hope, reporters wanted to interview the family, and politicians wanted to use their story for various causes. But Jack and Zarathic protected their daughter's privacy. "She's not a scientific specimen," Jack told the reporters. "She's our child, and she deserves to grow up normally." On Hope's first birthday, the family had a quiet celebration at home. Jack looked around at his wife, his 4 children, and their little miracle baby, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "What are you thinking about?" Zarathik asked, noticing his expression. "I'm thinking about how different my life could have been," Jack said, "if you hadn't asked for my help. If I had said no. If we had given up when things got difficult." "But you didn't say no," Zarathik pointed out. "And we didn't give up." "No, we didn't," Jack agreed. "We fought for our family." Keth, now 11 and already showing signs of becoming a brilliant engineer, overheard them. "Jack, do you ever miss your old life, when it was just you?" Jack thought about it seriously. "I miss your mother Emma sometimes," he said honestly. "She was a good person, and I loved her. But I don't miss being alone. I don't miss having no purpose beyond my work." "Are you happy?" Nira asked. She was 9 now and very perceptive about emotions. "I'm happier than I ever thought possible," Jack said. "I have a family that I love and that loves me back. I have work that matters. I have a future to look forward to." Vex, now 7 and the family storyteller, had been quiet during this conversation. Finally, he spoke up. "Tell us the story again," he said, "about how you became our father." Jack smiled. This had become a family tradition. "Once upon a time," he began, "there was a lonely human man who thought his life was over, and a brave Velthari mother who would do anything to save her children," Zarathik added. "She asked him for help," Keth continued. "And he said yes, even though he was scared," Nira said. "And they became a family," Vex finished. "Not because they had to, but because they chose to." Baby Hope gurgled happily in her mother's arms, as if she understood the story too. "That's right," Jack said. "They chose to become a family, and they lived happily ever after." "But this isn't the end of the story," Zarathik said. "This is just the beginning." Jack looked at his wife and children, at the life they had built together against all odds. She was right. This wasn't an ending. This was the start of something wonderful. Outside their window, the lights of New Haven Colony twinkled in the artificial night. Other families, human, Velthari, Kresh, Umari, and even some mixed families like theirs, were settling down for the evening. The universe was changing. Barriers between species were breaking down. Understanding and cooperation were replacing fear and prejudice. And it had all started with one simple question: will you help my children? Sometimes the most important decisions in life came from the heart, not the head. Sometimes love really could conquer all. And sometimes the family you chose was even stronger than the family you were born into. Jack Morrison had learned all of these lessons and more. He had gone from being a lonely widower to being a husband, father, and pillar of his community. He had learned that home wasn't a place, it was the people you shared your life with. And as he tucked his children into their beds and kissed his wife goodnight, Jack knew that he was exactly where he belonged.